Oh, I don't remember a link. I just remember seeing like a short clip.
Yeah, that's what it was. Short.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, everybody out there in Twitchland. It's Doc once again with Game Time, and I'm here with Lurch. This is our first week without Angel as a co host, but he will be missed and he will come visit when opportunity allows. Uh, there's definitely nothing wrong with him. He just got a job and real world time conflict. You know, that just kind of happens. But anyway, we're
Yep.
here and we're here every Tuesday, real life allowing, from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we cover anything and everything going on in the nerdosphere. You may have noticed actually that I've done a few shorts lately for my YouTube channel, and I've even put a couple of spots there of real quick 15 to 60-second shorts telling you to come over here for our Tuesday shows. So we're going to try to push the show more and more. In fact, I've even got, for anybody that ends up subscribing to the channel, I've got some little sets of dice that I will give to local subscribers. And if you're not local, the only thing you might have to pay is shipping, but it's not going to cost that much for these sets of dice that I can give away. Let's bring that up. You can see they're not super fancy, and I only have a few of them, but I'll get more if we get more subscribers. Because remember, anything and everything we make on the channel, half of it rounded up goes to Extra Life, part of the Children's Miracle Network. So it helps kids with chronic conditions in the hospitals and stuff. People with children with cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, and stage renal disease, like what I have, but I'm not a child. Cancer, things like that. And they had it especially rough during COVID when they couldn't have their families visit them. So I do give half of everything I make on the channel to them. That's my little public service announcement. And consider, if you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription a month. That's the equivalent of paying the $5 for a subscription. Of that, I get $2.50. So $1.25 goes to Extra Life every month for you doing that. And basically, it's free if you've got your Amazon Prime subscription. And if you're a student, you can get that free for a year. So free on top of free, but still supporting charity. Anyway, we're going to get on with our topics. I do need to bring up, I think Lurch sent me one more link that I
Yeah.
need to put on for today's topics. And I don't know if you want to talk about that particular one first.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about Final Fantasy and get started.
What now?
Um. Yeah, we can start with the Final Fantasy
Okay.
bit.
We will do that in just a second. I just wanted to bring it
Okay.
up. I wanted to know where to put it in the roster. Okay.
Sure.
And then I'll go ahead and close Facebook because we don't need that. Um, as you can see, splash screen is the Dungeons and Dragons movie just because right now while we're
Mhm.
talking. We've started to do with this show now is we ask kind of what's been going on for the week for the hosts, and there's only two of us, so that should be pretty quick. How's your week been, Lurch?
Um. Pretty good. Pretty good. We got um. The central air is finally replaced.
Good
Oh,
to
the
hear.
house is nice and cool.
Good to hear. Gotta keep them
Mm,
computers and consoles cool so they don't burn out on
yeah.
you.
The furnace isn't quite done yet, and it's because for whatever reason, the brick on my house is. And they have to drill like a new hole for the new furnace line or whatever, right? For the exhaust isn't the right word, but for something from the furnace to like go out of the house, right? The new one.
Right.
They have to drill a new hole, and the brick uh, ruined their brick drill bit. Like the first one they started to use wasn't long enough because it's really like I guess it's a really thick space they need to cut it into. So they had to go and they went and bought a new bit. Spent like $50. They bought a new bit. The HVAC guy did, and then but while working on it, drilling it, it wore it out, and so he couldn't finish the job. He has to return it and get another one to finish cutting the hole through the brick. He's like he said he drills through brick on an almost daily basis, and he's never encountered brick is hard to cut through as mine is.
Either that, or there was a defective bit.
Maybe, I don't know. So it's got me feeling pretty secure in this house, and a tornado comes over.
Right.
So I got that going, and I also just got my new doorbell installed today. I just installed it today. It's got a camera on it, motion sensor, and when someone rings the doorbell, it has my Alexa boxes will say, "Someone is at your front door." And it rings to my phone. I can talk to people through my phone to it and all that. That's all nice. I've never had one of those for myself.
Getting more and more of that smart home technology going on.
Mm-hmm. And then, besides that, getting some good stuff going on Final Fantasy VIII, and then had a good time with my D&D this last weekend. Angel DMs, our D&D game. We had a new party member join. Our new member, we didn't know this going in. Other than the DM and the new guy, he wanted to introduce himself by having us have to fight each other because he's being manipulated by a mind flayer. And I don't know, as a player, I don't know this, but we come up and we're confronted with him, and he's got a whole bunch of NPCs with swords that are ready to face us. And we got a report that we need to investigate of people going missing, and he's not answering any questions, saying everything's confidential or whatever, and just kind of a standoff. And I'm as a player going, are we really gonna have to fight the new guy? But I was at a certain point, I was my character at this point wouldn't do anything other than attack it now, and so I just started it off with a fireball. And everybody in the fireball except for one of the NPCs failed the saving throw, so I just wrecked everything with 38 points of damage right off the bat. I think the fight against him lasted for about a round. He then hits me with it because he's a Tempest cleric, hits me with lightning, and I happen to be I'm a blue dragonborn that has natural resistance to lightning.
Yeah, that's helpful. That's helpful.
So I kind of shrugged off his lightning blast he hit me with.
Right? We love hearing anything having to do with gaming.
It was great. It was good. It was a good time.
Well, my week, just yesterday, my 42-inch TV finally got set up as a monitor over here so I can see better. I haven't got quite triple monitor support yet because I don't have enough outputs on my laptop, so I have to get a splitter to have the smaller ancillary monitor. But I will eventually have triple monitor support. I also do not have my PlayStation hooked up yet, but that's mainly just finding where I put the capture card, so that I can hook it up through that, so that I can play PlayStation and stream those games sometimes now, too. But I will add that in. You can also see in the background my original Beholder picture is my current background image on my cam. Byron the Beholder, if you've seen me on various social medias, that's my main character icon. So you might be used to seeing my little Beholder, but it was in my history for Facebook this week as a reminder that I made it several years ago, and so I'm sharing it out again. I saw in Facebook that it was the anniversary when you got your car. You had got your tax return, and we're talking about getting an AC for your old car and instead put a down payment on a new one and everything. Yeah. And then coincidentally, you just got the AC fixed in your house, so full circle.
Yeah, it's a funny coincidence how that's kind of come around. I didn't buy my car right away. It took me an extra 3 months or whatever till I actually ended up buying my car.
But it was decision.
Yeah, I spent some time shopping around until I settled on what car it was, but yeah, it was that Facebook reminder on this day thing was me making a post of me deciding that I needed a replacement. I just needed to get a new car instead of bothering fixing the old one. I'm glad I did. I'm glad and it wasn't, my fault wasn't even about that. My fault was about, with my tax return, I can fix my AC. And then someone else go, don't bother fixing your AC. Just get a new car at this point.
And you did.
And I took that to heart.
And
got a much better car.
And that car's paid off now.
Yep.
Okay. Other things, you may notice I've got a wired headset, but it's one of those good gaming ones that lights up with the music and everything. So
does it like throbs with the tone, with the beat of the songs?
Yeah, it pulses with the beat of the song.
Pulse.
Because I had this one with my PlayStation, because this is my PlayStation headset. But I went ahead and put it on for streaming and trying it out. So that means when I go to get a soda and stuff, since I'm plugged in now, I will have to leave my headphones instead of being able to keep talking while we do that. But that's okay. Other than that, let's see. I've done a whole bunch of new shorts for YouTube on the channel just to help get the word out. We're trying to get more and more people to back the channel, subscribe on either on Twitch or YouTube. You can find us on YouTube. We put the old episodes of Game Time up on YouTube after we do them, generally within a week. And now that I'm doing shorts almost every day, it'll be even more likely that we get them up within a week. So you can watch old episodes. So if this time is not convenient for you, that's fine. Speaking of which, I should actually make sure that the chat window is open in case anybody is trying to say anything. And I have not started the bot, but we don't typically use the bot during this show anyway. I will add the bot back in later.
You mostly use the bot for your live stream or when you're playing a game, right? Because you can't manage what's on the chat as easily.
Right. I use the bot then a heck of a lot more because of I use it for things like giveaways and to have it automatically share out stuff that we're doing. Like the link to my Extra Life campaign, the Discord server link, things of that nature. So that's what the bot's there for, and keep track. But it doesn't look like we've had any chatters yet. But anyway, that's our week in review. And then, of course, I've been playing a lot of Wild Terror 2 New Land still. And a lot of my videos that have come up in the last couple of weeks have been not my shorts, although I did mention it in a couple of shorts. I've been doing tutorial videos, a walkthrough on Tutorial Island, a blacksmithing tutorial, a leatherworking tutorial, some basic tips and tricks for new players. So if you want to get into Wild Terror 2, it's done by a Russian developer, and it's a little bit expensive buy-in. It's a buy-to-play, so you don't have to subscribe, but it is like $40 to get in to start. However, I will let you know that if you go to some of the key resellers and you change your country of origin, you can get it a lot cheaper. You can get it like up to 70% off if you buy it in like Turkish lira. So this is that's a tip for you guys. So that's just something to let you know. Actually, hold on here a second. There's that. There's that. I blocked your picture accidentally. Hold on. Okay.
Oops.
We got you back up. All right. When I brought up the chat, I'd covered your picture. So
I see.
Anyway, we're going to get in with the actual theme of the show, as it were. We're going to start off right away with the state of play that was mentioned last week, since we did mention it last week. So I'm going to turn it over to Lurch, and I'm going to go grab a soda real quick.
Okay, so as we promised last week, we got it was a state of play that was all about Final Fantasy 16. They didn't show anything else, just Final Fantasy 16. But man, it was for me, it was an awesome, very exciting presentation. And anyone else watching this that's seen our other shows know that I am really hyped for this game. This one took a little time to show us some details that we didn't get to see before. They showed us some gameplay, including showing us, like, we got to see some combat before, we got to see some more combat now, but now we get to see some more of the other, like, what you're doing, minute by minute kind of moment of the game. Some of the stuff they showed us, that they showed for this game is that they showed us they showed us the place they refer to as the Hideaway. It's kind of like sort of, I guess, a central hub where you to go to meet with shopkeepers and things like that, kind of like a little town. As this article I shared from GamingAge.com describes, they said the Hideaway serves as protagonist Clive's base and will give players the opportunity to discover more about the world of Valisthea from past to present by speaking to historian Harpocrates. Harpocrates? I don't remember how to pronounce it from the video. But as well as view the relationship of the characters by speaking to military scholar Vivian.
If it's based on the Greek, it would be Hippocrates.
Yeah, well, it's Harp, H-A-R-P. Harpocrates.
So it'd be Harpocrates, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they showed us kind of that. They showed us some more icon battle footage with, like, the Phoenix. It looks kind of like we might be having a situation where, like, a little kid might be the dominant. Oh, that's something else. I don't remember us learning this before, but the dominant in this game is the name of the people who kind of like are the hosts of the icons, the summons. And it looks like your character, Clive, has a younger brother who he is sworn to protect, named Joshua. And Joshua is the dominant of the Phoenix. So he has the Phoenix summon. Since some of the footage shows little Joshua with lots of blood on his face, I'm a little concerned about, fate of the little kid. I get to see a lot of NPCs in this. They showed us there's a training function that kind of is like getting into a computer simulation thing. It describes here players can battle in training mode by accessing the Ereta Stone in the Hideaway. The feature will be useful when wanting to practice a combination of abilities, particularly after learning a new skill. Which, because this game, unlike some of the past Final Fantasy games, this game is very action-oriented. Having a safe spot to try out your different abilities, your skills and powers back at your Hideaway, I think is going to be very useful to some of us so that we can learn how to use them before we get into actual dangerous battles. But also in this, you can use this stone, this Ereta Stone, this training function, to get like high scores on things to compete. It looks like they've got like a leaderboard kind of a system. So, it's a single player game. They've got like a mechanic so that you can continue playing it after the story, or more than just playing the story.
Well,
you can have some longevity by competing with your friends and leaderboards.
And this is more of an action RPG, not a turn-based one.
Oh, it is very action. Like, it's RPG by leveling up in stories, but it's very action-y game.
Right.
The combat developer made the Devil May Cry combat and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 combat, you know?
So that training thing would be very valuable, especially as the other major difference between other Final Fantasies and this one, as you mentioned before, was your Aeons or whatever, your summons are not summons this time, they're transformations. So, yeah, you would want to be able to transform if you're doing both transformation and action-oriented combat. You need an ability to train to get that down.
They also showed that you can take on jobs by going to like a hunting board and finding wanted posters full of powerful monsters to defeat and earn, big rewards out of. What's up?
So a question.
Yeah.
A quest board.
Oh, yeah, a quest board. So yeah, there'll be a quest board. They're calling them a hunting board, which was something that existed in Final Fantasy 14, maybe 15. So if you're familiar with those, or with, it makes sense that they're doing something that had 14 because it is being made by the same people who made Final Fantasy 14. And of course, just the new battle footage showing some of the variety in his combat actions and more icon battle footage that just looked phenomenal. Square Enix also announced that popular singer-songwriter Kenshi Yonezo, whose fame spans generations and whose single "Lemon" set a record in Japanese music history, has been confirmed to perform the theme song. I'm probably going to pronounce this terribly, but it looks like Tsuki wo Mitieta Moongazing, which is a theme song teaser that can be viewed, and they got a YouTube link on the GamingAsia.com page. Yonezo said that words cannot express the impact Final Fantasy has had on my life. I never thought or imagined that I would ever receive an opportunity like this. I wrote this song especially for this game. Thank you. End quote. I probably should have started that with saying a starting quote. So
that's something, yeah.
Yeah.
That goes
and,
full circle then.
I was going to say, I think I saw you clicking through showing some of the pictures, showing some of like the NPCs that you get to interact with, some of the shops you can shop at, some of the icons. Like you got Titan here with a tiny little head and a massive torso, like upper body. You got Clive fighting what looks like just kind of, fallen hunters, whatever those are, with all the red lines on it. See here. I'm not sure. I wonder if this is. I think this is Shiva with the lady with the white coming off of her back, like almost like a winged cape thing. I think that's Shiva. And we got a character here whose name I'm not sure, sitting at the moonlight. All these gorgeous images.
It's great images. Yeah, the images are stunning.
So I like this. We got a side by side. We got Clive just kind of like looking like himself, normal. Kind of normal setting, getting a good look at his like outfit and his sword and stuff here. And then the next frame, Clive like burning from the inside with like flame coming up his cheek, from the inside of his veins of his cheek and stuff. I wonder if this is him like embracing Ifrit or tapping into Ifrit or the Phoenix. Yeah, I'm not sure.
He's going Super Saiyan, man.
We got to see a little bit more of his dog. So when you're in battle, you'll have AI allies helping you in battle, but you won't control them. But they did explain how your AI friends, your allies in the battle, are supposed to be intelligent enough to recognize what you're doing and what you're trying to do, and then use their abilities to help you do what you're trying to do. This sounds really promising. The dog, you get some control of. You can issue commands to the dog. But the others are acting on their own in the battle.
Well, in a lot of video games, pet taming is probably one of the most popular class features for video game classes. I know in Wild Terra 2, everybody walks around with pets. You may, even if you're not a pet tamer, you get one of the tamers in the game to tame a pet, and then you get it off of them. So you got everybody walking around with, especially tamed bears, and it's also one of the big thing for the perk packs that you might buy. So yeah, pets are just huge in video gaming. So it's nice to see a little bit of pet love, and pet autonomy is something I kind of value. I don't want to control every single thing my pet does. Yeah,
people love to work with pets. I mean, in my D&D game, multiple people have pets of some kind at various levels. I have familiar. I have a special warlock familiar called Takir. He's a little golden pseudo dragon. He's actually a celestial spirit that takes on the body of a golden pseudo dragon.
Right.
Our bard has a blink dog as a pet.
Nice.
And our so Stephanie used to play a druid, but her druid died, so now she's playing an arcane archer. But she's got a couple. She's got a couple of fairy dragons that mostly just stay invisible and stay behind or whatever. But she has one that's like following along and doesn't usually participate in battles, but just kind of as a pet that's with her all the time.
Yeah.
And then we used to have a paladin in the group that had a pet ferret, but the player left the group.
Yeah, and pets and mounts and stuff are just huge. Like I said, also in Wild Terra, I was given the Bard pack for my birthday by my sister, and one of the perks of the Bard pack is a pet. It's called Inspiration, but it's a will-o'-the-wisp. All it really does is give you light, so you don't have to carry a torch. But it's a little will-o'-the-wisp that follows you around.
Nice.
A pet. So pets they're just fun, and I like it when they have some autonomy. You can give them commands like attack, defend, retreat, but they decide how they attack, defend, and retreat. And that's great. I love it. The more that the game gives them autonomy and don't just make them an extension of your character, but they make him an ally. That's wonderful. I love it when games do that. So that's something that has me excited for the new Final Fantasy. Anyway, anything more for this, or are we about done with this particular?
I think that sums it. I don't want to beat that horse, but if you have any interest, or if you like action games with a fantasy setting, even if you've never played a Final Fantasy game before this, just if you like a fantasy setting, Game of Thrones or whatever kind of fantasy kind of worlds, and you like action games, take a look at this footage because I imagine this would sell you on it.
And it's $70. It says in stock, but it actually doesn't release until June 22nd. But on Amazon, it looks like it's $69.99 according to your article.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's pretty normal price for a PlayStation 5 game right now. So
I mean that's I don't know if you know this, that's becoming the normal price across the board.
It is.
Yeah, Xbox started charging $70 for their games, and the upcoming Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom. It's the first Nintendo game that's going to be selling at $70.
Yeah, so 70 is becoming the industry standard for most new games, and then they drop in price based on availability, popularity, etc.
And of course, there's still going to be some games that are smaller games that'll be sold at a cheaper price to start or whatever. But $70 is the new norm for a new full-size game.
So you judge by how many hours of gameplay you actually get. Replayability is what really bumps up the value of a game, not its initial price tag. The more I can play the game, the more fun I can get. The more hours of play I can get out of the game, the more value I think I get out of the game. But there's some short games that I think are well worth it. Speaking of which, recently watched on Apple TV the Tetris movie.
Did you?
Yes. The Tetris movie, of course, was an Apple exclusive release, so it's theaters and Apple TV. We have Apple TV through our cell phone, so because I don't buy Apple products normally, but Apple TV through the cell phone, and we watched it, and of course that shows you when it comes to replayability. I mean, it was one of the single most played puzzle games ever created, and with for just a handheld over 500 million units sold of Tetris.
That's a lot of Tetris.
And that's my girlfriend's favorite game. So replayability is huge. And
what's interesting is, from my experience, Tetris is a lot more among women than it is with men.
Yes, it is. There's something about Tetris that does seem to appeal to the
And
female gamer a little bit more than men, but we don't want to stereotype here. I
no,
mean,
no, no. But like
yeah.
the first that I noticed this was several years back, about a dozen years ago now, when we were doing a game expo, and I don't know what system I had over there. I think it was an Atari. I think I had an Atari setup, but it might have been Nintendo or something. But I believe it was an Atari. But it was one of the really old systems, and it was an early year for Game Expo. It was like year 3 or something, and I had a TV that wasn't getting a whole lot of play, and like whenever I have if I have a couple TVs that don't get much play, I might pop in a game and let it just kind of run like it's a little demo thing to encourage people to come over and go, oh hey, there's that game over there, and so and I'd like put in like ET and Battle and some other games, and like guys would come over and play for a little bit, and then I popped in Tetris, and after I put in Tetris, suddenly that table was surrounded by a whole group of women that were taking turns playing Tetris. And I was like, I didn't realize this one specific particular game was so popular with women, but at least the ones here, can't get enough of Tetris. That Tetris table was then used up for a long time, or the TV was just used up by various women playing Tetris for the next few hours. It was surprising.
Yeah,
Um,
Tetris is one of those games. Even non-gamers, people who don't typically play like console games or something, they
mhm.
might play tabletop or board games and stuff, but they don't play console games or anything. We'll pick up a game like Tetris and just play it to death because it's a real quick, mindless puzzle game.
Oh, it's anything but mindless, but I know
Well,
what you mean.
not mindless, but zen. By
Yeah.
mindless, I mean zen. You don't have to think about anything but where the puzzle pieces go. You don't
Yeah,
have
it's
to
all
go.
just spatial awareness.
Yeah,
It's an exercise in spatial awareness.
yeah, you let the troubles of your day just fade as you just
And
focus on the puzzle.
I think Tetris is a great example that the length of a game isn't always a good judgment on the value of a game. You
Because
know?
well, the length of Tetris is both finite and infinite. Because you
Yeah.
can play it and play it and play it forever, but it gets faster and harder as you play. So, but it's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's not like 80,000 different levels. It's one level that's just continuous. But
Yeah. Like
but
I know that looking at how many hours you put into a game is like an easy metric to go, yeah, I got my value out of it because I played it for this long. And I still sometimes will look at a game and be like, yeah, I paid $70, but I played the game for 100 hours. But then other times I'll pay $70 for a game, I'll play it for 7 hours, but it was an amazing 7 hours. You know what I mean?
right, right,
And
absolutely. Uh, in fact, just to give examples, that's one of the things that Steam does. Even though I'm not a big fan of Steam myself, one of the great things Steam does is it'll tell you like how many hours you've played a game. Uh,
I'm finding that to be wildly inaccurate.
it is because among other things, if you don't use the Steam client to play the hours, or if you leave it just on, it'll accumulate hours of play. But
I'm
like,
finding it to be, I mean, wildly either direction. And I say that with, I've been playing my Steam Deck a lot since I got the Steam Deck. And playing on the Steam Deck, I'm exclusively playing games from the Steam platform, right? And the games I'm playing off of there, the clock's completely off. Like right now, I'm playing Final Fantasy VIII, right? According to Steam, I've played Final Fantasy VIII for a total of like 31 or 32 hours, something like that, low 30s right now. But according to the in-game clock that of playing it, that is keeping track as I'm playing it or whatever, I'm over 60 hours into the game.
who knows? Yeah,
And the game is, like how long to beat says it should take about 60 hours to beat the game. And I'm on disc 4, which means I'm near the end of the game. So the in-game clock I trust to be accurate here, but the Steam clock is only half that.
It may not register the Steam Deck as accurately too. I'm not sure how it works with the
Yeah,
Steam Deck.
it might be a bug with Steam Deck specifically. I don't know, but it's
Yeah,
been, and it's not just been this one game. Like basically every game I've played on the Steam Deck, I've looked back and felt. Sometimes the clock time will drop. Sometimes I have witnessed it go down by several hours. Sometime later. Yeah.
but I'm looking at my Steam numbers just to say, I spent what $5 on 7 Days to Die, and I've got 418 hours in it. That's well worth my $5.
Jeez. There's very few games I've put that kind of time in. I don't even have an MMO. I played Final Fantasy 14 in MMO, and I put the most hours into it. I've only played it for a little over 300 hours. I paid like $60, $70, $80 for the game plus an expansion pack, and paid $15 a month to continue playing it for a few months, and I only got a little over 300 hours in it.
Yeah. Conversely, the Wild Terror 2 that I've been playing, Steam says I've been playing it for 426.2 hours, and I've only had the game for a month. And I didn't actually pay for this game. This game was the key was given to me. But that's the game I'm saying that cost $40 to get in. But $40 for already 400 hours of play? I mean, that's 10 hours of play per dollar.
Yeah.
And I'm not even showing any sign of quitting. I'm going to put several thousand hours of play into this game before I'm done with it. And that's just the thing is these games. I don't play a whole lot of Steam-based games, so most of my Steam-based play hours are not really high.
Yes.
Like I played only like 7 hours of Clicker Heroes, and that's a AFK game. That just shows you I didn't play much on Steam.
Right.
Steam is just not my normal method of play for a lot of things, but that is at least one benchmark for valuation of games is how much of your time, because you only have so many entertainment hours and dollars. And so you got to judge it. Is it worth going to see a movie for $14? Or is it better to wait and buy the movie when it comes on DVD for $10, or wait for it to stream, or go buy a board game or video game instead? How are you going to spend your entertainment dollar? Because just as much as your bills are important and everything, you also need to live. You need to entertain yourself. You need to give your brain and your body a break. And that's why we do a lot of the nerdy things we do. We need that entertainment in our lives, but we have to decide where the best value goes, because money is finite. We've only got so much.
Yeah.
You can't take it with you, but you do need to judge. And like you've got consoles coming out your ears. You could never play all your games all the way through all the time, but you're trying, dang it.
Man, I wish I had more time to play games, but just got so many other things I'm trying to do.
I'm medically retired and I don't have enough time to play everything I own. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got stacks of board games. I've got my PlayStation 4 hasn't even been hooked up in over a year. Same thing with my Wii U. I've been playing a lot of MMOs lately, but I haven't touched my board games in months. I really want to do. We need to do a board game night, Lurch. We really do.
Yeah.
We've got to do a board game night. We get the gang together, play some Cards Against Humanity and Dominion and something like that. Anyway,
You ever play Lovecraft Ladder?
Yes, Lovecraft Ladder. That would be great.
That is a fun one. I like it a lot.
Yeah, we're board game and card game fanatics here. I mean, you've seen just part of my collection, because all you have to do is go to Game, and you look at the collection of Game, and a third of that is mine.
Yeah,
and that's not even all my games. That's just what I bring. We love our games.
I think you're sort of with board games similar to how I think your board game collection is kind of like my video game collection.
Yep. Yeah, you have the console games, and mine's the board and role playing games. Uh,
Yeah.
in fact, back in the day, I used to have just about every role playing game that ever came out. Uh, so yeah, I've played a lot of video games, and I've been beta testing games since the '90s. But um, board and card games are just a true passion, and role playing games, as you know, are my first love. I'm a D&D player at heart. Uh, but anyway, we've spent a little bit of time on this. We're almost an hour into the show already, 40 minutes into the show. Let's
Oh
go
yeah.
on to another topic. Since we just had one of yours, we're going to skip over your Nintendo topic and go to my next topic,
Okay.
or first topic, I should say. So we're not going to do Nintendo yet. We're going to do. Okay. The Sandman Season 2 reveals major updates about the future of the game. Let me change this.
The future of the series.
The series, yes.
I
I
hope this
said
is good news. I hope this is good news. Is it good
it is.
news?
It is. Well, we've got some stuff here. Basically, last fall, Netflix renewed Sandman for its second season, though the new episodes of the hit series, based on the ambitious DC comic of the same name, are not actually being called so far Season 2. After months of speculation, but have been little news about it. But on his Tumblr, a fan asked Gaiman for a little news on the new batch of episodes of The Sandman, to which Gaiman wrote that the scripts are in place, casting is in progress, and sets are being made. So the scripts
Okay.
are written. Um, but they're trying not there's and they're being very cryptic about it, but they're trying not to refer to the new episodes as season 2, and that's being very cryptic, but it's kind of there's it's like they're going to arrive, but in a really cool way, as uh, Desiree actor Mason Alexander Park said. They're going to arrive in a really cool way, which has me kind of excited. Because if you remember, when Sandman season 1 dropped, uh, 2 weeks later we got two bonus episodes. We got a two-part bonus
Yeah.
episode. So I'm
Well,
wondering if
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It was dropped as one episode, wasn't it? But it was actually two separate.
two vignettes, yeah.
Yeah.
And So I'm wondering if these new batch episodes might be just a continuation of season 1, more bonus episodes, or maybe they'll do a made for Netflix kind of movie miniseries or something where there'll be
Yeah.
long episodes. Uh, it's got me excited. It's got me. I mean, it's Neil Gaiman, so I'm going to be excited regardless. And I know some of the actors that they've already got signed on for various roles. I know that David Tennant is supposed to be involved. Both of the actors from Good Omens are supposed to be involved at least a little bit. They were both involved in the bonus episode from the last batch. I'm not going to say season. I'm going to say batch because we don't know what they're doing now, if we're going to be doing this in a whole new way. Uh, but the way Netflix does things is when they drop things, you don't have to wait and only get one episode a week. They drop them in batches and usually call it either a season or a half season for a lot of it. So this might be even a whole new way of bringing it out.
Yeah.
I know when they brought out The Ranch, the Ashton Kutcher series, they brought that out in chapters. And there was actually like 4 chapters per season. And each chapter had so many episodes. So, different ways of doing things. Netflix is exploring different options because all the streaming places are trying to make themselves stand out in different ways. But this is one of the series that I've been so excited for. When it first dropped, I mean, we watched it like voracious, starving people, didn't we, Lurch? Oh
We
my
sure
God.
did. Yeah. I watched it all over a couple of days. I think I watched all of the first batch episodes except for maybe the last 2 episodes.
Well,
In the first day.
we all got to that one episode that was so exhausting we had to take a break.
Yeah.
because there was that one super intense episode right in the middle that every one of us, we were like, we're binge watching. We get to this one episode. Okay, we need a break.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can watch some more. But
Yeah.
in other ways, we just like voraciously ate up the episodes, and it is so good. And Neil Gaiman is just a phenomenal writer. He's so out of the box. He's so revolutionary, and his effect on books and comics, and now digital media is insane. And I can't wait to see more. For those who are looking for more Neil Gaiman out there in digital media, Netflix has Lucifer, which is basically based on the character from the Sandman comics.
Yeah. I don't think it's as
it's not a true adaptation.
I don't think it's as loyal to the source material as the Sandman is.
That's because the Lucifer in the TV show is more based on the character of Desire, not Lucifer. But yeah, the Lucifer TV series is adapted from Gaiman's work. Good Omens, the Prime Video series, is Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett's work.
That was an awesome show as well. I haven't watched yet, but there's another show, American Gods. That's Neil Gaiman.
Yes, American Gods. And there's an upcoming adaptation of one of his other books, The Anansi Boys, which is you'll recognize if you watch American Gods. Orlando Bloom plays a character in the American Gods called Anansi, which is the African spider god. And The Anansi Boys is a little small novella that he wrote specifically about Anansi and his twin boys. So, because Neil Gaiman, one of his things, and you'll notice there's a theme throughout a lot of his comic books and stuff, is he likes to take mythology concepts, stand them on the ear, and totally anthropomorphize the gods and make them human. And that's what he does. He takes them and does the human avatars of the gods even more than ancient man did in mythology. But he totally puts them in the modern setting. So you see modern versions of Thor and Zeus and Odin and Hercules and Anansi and they're all interacting with the modern gods, which if you watch American Gods, you're going to see the modern gods, which is the gods of like TV and social media and stuff, because those are the new things we worship, technology, and that's what makes him an amazing writer. And he really just, DC Comics snapped him up and brought him into their comic book world. He was originally mainly a novel writer, and he came into DC and started doing these Sandman, and he wrote some Constantine issues, and of course all of this stuff, and it's just amazing. So I saw this in my updates, and I was like, got to talk about the Sandman because it's the Sandman.
Yeah, I'm glad you did because I missed this news headline. So I'm glad you caught it and brought it up.
Yeah, we keep ourselves. We try to keep each other up to date on these very interesting things.
That is probably my favorite show of the last year.
It is so good. The Sandman and Wednesday are the two best new shows this year, in my opinion. Those two have been really good.
Wednesday is one of my favorites. I didn't like it as much as the Sandman, but it's one of my favorites.
And The Last of Us. The Last of Us is also really good.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah. But they've been doing better with some of those shows. And in fact, if you were a fan of Heroes, another one I'll tell you to go watch, that's a new one, is called The Company We Keep. And it stars Milo Ventimiglia, who played Peter Petrelli on Heroes.
Oh, Peter Petrelli, yeah.
And that's my favorite character on Heroes, even more than Hiro Nakamura, is Peter Petrelli.
I was just talking about Heroes to Squall yesterday. I
I love that series.
My brother, like we love the show. Peter was one of our favorites, but Peter and my brother and I, would sometimes call Peter Petrelli Mr. Slanty Face because he always talked like out of the side of his mouth. You gotta find the cheerleader.
Yeah. Save the cheerleader, save the world. Yes, I love Peter Petrelli. He's my favorite character of all the characters on Heroes, and that's saying something because, I mean, we had Siler, probably one of the best TV villains ever.
I was going to bring up. I was going to say I think my favorite is Hero, but my second favorite was Siler, and then my third favorite is Peter.
Mine is slightly shuffled because my favorite of all is Peter, and then Hero and Siler are about tied. I love them both. And then I like Horn-Rimmed Glasses or Noah Bennett, who for the first major part of the show had no name. He was just Horn-Rimmed Glasses. In fact, all the social media just had him called HRG for Horn-Rimmed Glasses because they didn't name him.
In the credits?
He was credited originally as HRG, Horn-Rimmed Glasses. He was not given a name until like the second season because he was a major antagonist of the game. I mean, of the movie. I keep saying game. Of the movie, but he was that nebulous government guy that you didn't quite know who he was. He was the man in black. Yeah.
Dude, I love that moment. I love that moment when the mind reader, Matt, is trying to read his mind, and he knows that the guy's trying to read his mind as he's asking questions. So he starts thinking in Japanese to circumvent the value of the mind reading.
Yeah, because Matt Parkman couldn't understand Japanese. Yeah, Matt Parkman was another great character. Actually, there were so many great characters in there. Claire was great. Ali Larder played the multiple personality character, and she was good. Ali Larder, of course, we like her from Resident Evil movies and other things as well. But yeah, she is just amazing. And of course, some of the greatest nerd actors of all time guested on that show because we got Eric Roberts guested on the show, Malcolm McDowell guested on the show, and the immortal George Takei, Chekhov from Star Trek, guested on that show. So they just had amazing people on Heroes. Yeah. So I always would recommend Heroes. In fact, I think I even did it as a flashback, but if I haven't, I'll do it again because the Heroes is just amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, keep an eye out. Sandman and Good Omens 2 are both supposed to be dropping sometime in the near future. Hopefully Good Omens is going to drop even sooner.
I imagine Good Omens has to be closer for a couple of reasons. One, Good Omens Season 1. I think Good Omens Season 2 was announced before the first batch of the other show even came out.
Well, they said Good Omens Season 2 is already done shooting. So it's in post-production. It's in post-production, last I heard.
Okay, so yeah, it looks like we don't have an exact release date, but Season 2 is expected to come out in this summer, 2023. Yeah,
because it's supposed to be in post-production, so they're just waiting for post-production to be finished and then to announce the actual release dates. So Good Omen 2. Now, Good Omen 2 will be just Gaiman because Terry Pratchett, of course, passed away, and they never wrote a second book in the series together.
Yeah.
But Gaiman has said that he's made a point of doing it in the style of that he did when he was working with Terry, and so he pays homage to Terry in it.
I like how Neil Gaiman made a post about Season 2, and someone replied going, "What are they going to do? There wasn't a second book to base it off of. What are they going to do? Just make up something?" And Neil Gaiman replied to him saying, "That's what I did the first time."
How do you think these books come about, people? Look, okay, as much as the Christians might like to tell you this is how it happened, you don't just go up on a hill and God doesn't hand you a couple of commandments and says, "Okay, thou shalt write this book." As much as they want to say that's how the Bible was written. I mean, and we will say that some of these books are like bolts from heaven, but they do write them. They make something up. That's their whole artwork, guys.
Yeah. That is their art.
And we value them for it. Oh my God, do we value them for it? Okay,
So
but that was my main first topic of the week. I thought it was a rather good one,
yeah,
especially since I caught you off guard because you didn't see that one, and
yeah,
we try to do that to each other.
yeah.
Which, with both of us keeping an eye on the nerdosphere, that way most of this stuff doesn't slip by us. And then when we
Yeah,
had Angel, we had even a third set of eyes. And
yeah.
Angel, even though he's not a host, he'll still point us in the direction of things. So if he sees something we don't, you're going to get it secondhand from him. So Angel's
Yeah.
still going to affect the channel. Call him a production assistant or something, because he's still part of it. He's still part of the Game Time family. We're going to go on to your next topic, which is, of course, still on video games. This time, Nintendo.
Yeah. So this one is I got two different Nintendo topics. So which one we got up? You brought up? Okay.
The hacker.
Yeah, Nintendo hacker. Okay. So Nintendo is got a real world enemy named Bowser.
Which is so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, a hacker who was selling ROMs, Nintendo ROMs, making profits selling Nintendo ROMs, got busted, went to prison. He's been released from prison, but he still owes $14.5 million to Nintendo. They're going to be he's expected to have his wages garnished for 25 to 30% of his gross income for the rest of his life. What moral of the story is, don't steal from Nintendo, apparently. Holy shit. I'll just go over a little bit of this information we have here from this IGN article, written by Rebecca Valentine. I follow her on Twitter. It's pretty great. So she says that Bowser was indicted back in 2020 alongside Max Lorne and Yaning Chen for their activities as part of Team Executor, a hacking ring that sold cheats, allowing users to play pirated games. Despite seemingly having a smaller role in the operation as its marketing and PR manager, Bowser was the only one of the three ultimately tried and convicted in the US. Chen, a Chinese national, was never arrested, and Lorne was never able to be extradited to the US. Bowser was initially charged with 11 felonies, including wire fraud, conspiracy to circumvent technological measures, trafficking and circumvention devices, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Bowser has pled guilty to the two charges and was sentenced to first a $4.5 million fine and later a $10 million additional fine, as well as up to 40 months in prison. In a recent interview with podcast Nick Moses, Bowser calls in not from Federal Detention Center, SeaTac in Seattle, where he was incarcerated, but from Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma, Washington. He says he's awaiting processing before being sent home to Canada, having gotten out of prison early on good behavior. Bowser claims that the $14.5 million he owes, he has only been able to pay off $175 thus far, taken out in the $25 monthly installments from his income from a job in the prison library. Woo, man. Should Bowser find a job at home in Canada, he says his pay will continue to be docked until the full amount is paid off. Those agree with Nintendo only allows between 25 to 30% of his pay to be docked at a time. Previously, Bowser stated that while Team Executor earned at least tens of millions of dollars of proceeds, he himself only received a small fraction of that. So, okay, I do have a problem with this. the guy who really made the millions, the person whoever made the millions, is not the one that owes millions.
Yeah. Now the tough thing is going to be when he gets released to Canada, is whether or not Canada will fully enforce his wage garnishment, because they don't always, different countries don't always honor that. Uh, but it being a company like Nintendo, they might, just because the last thing Canada is going to want is Nintendo to basically black out sales in Canada, which is what
Yeah,
they could do if they don't honor these kind of agreements.
yeah. Nintendo's a. I mean, they are intense about these things. They just recently got a GameStop employee fired for leaking imagery from the art book for the Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom,
and
which he was able to get his hands on because of his job at GameStop.
and
Um,
Nintendo really made their major break uh, in the gaming world. I mean, they already were in the gaming world, but their major break actually comes from, again, the Tetris movie, because it was the Game Boy handheld. Uh, the Tetris movie talks about it. They were originally going to package it with Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, but instead they packaged it with Tetris because they got the handheld licensing, which is what the movie's all about, is the handheld rights. It ends up being about more, but the handheld rights is the initial purpose of the movie. And it's the handheld rights going and being prepackaged with all the initial Game Boys that made Nintendo the giant that they truly became. I mean, the NES was great, and it worked for quite a while, as it was the preeminent console for quite a bit. I mean, even though there was a couple others out, there was Atari, ColecoVision, and Atari was their biggest competitor at the time. But when they came out with the Game Boy, they revolutionized handheld gaming, because before that, all you had was like those simple throwaway one game things that didn't have changeable cartridges, or like watches that could play like small games. So you had little fishing games, little watch Tetris games, and
yeah,
stuff. Until the Game Boy came out with it was the first real cartridge based handheld, so that you could change games. It didn't
yeah.
have a set library of games. You could get new cartridges, and that's really what made it uh, big. And Nintendo don't mess around. And when they say they're going to pay something, they pay it. And then they say they're going to sue, they sue.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
they mean what they say, and they say what they mean. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. They even went after a YouTuber a while back for, I think it was Metroid Dread, because he posted a video at like midnight, or 12:01 a.m. I think he posted a video online about his impressions of the new Metroid game, which the new Metroid game came out, that night. And basically, they said that even though he didn't put the video out until after until after the game was out for sale, so people could make whatever content they wanted, they made the case with YouTube or whatever that he all clearly made the video in advance of the street date of the game, which means he had an advanced copy that he wasn't authorized to have.
Right?
So he made this video, even though the video was published after the video was allowed to be published. He clearly had an advanced, unauthorized copy of the game from before, which he did admit that he knew someone who had he had a contact that was able to get him a copy of the game like a week early, and he played it and he loved it. He absolutely loved it, and so he made a video talking about how amazing the game was. But because he put it out too quickly, Nintendo was like, "Oh, you had an unauthorized copy," and they made him take the video down. Otherwise, they were to come after him legally.
And that just goes to show you don't mess with the big N. You don't mess with Nintendo. Nintendo will sue you.
Yeah. It's a little different than I'm eating these candies here. I got the Master Chief on this candy. I bring this up because they're not as strict. Red versus Blue, one of the best little internet cartoon, little internet video series of like 2002 or whatever the hell year it was.
Yeah.
2005. That was originally a completely unauthorized use of the Master Chief and the Halo assets, but the fucking Bungie liked them and encouraged them to keep going.
Well,
they were afraid they were going to get a cease and desist, and instead Bungie's like, dude, this is great. Keep doing it.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is Bungie is like, you know what? This is great advertising for our stuff. Go for it.
Yeah.
Nintendo's like, yeah, this might have been great, stunning reviews and good advertising, but it doesn't condone what you did or what somebody did for you. So take it down, and that's their standards. But that's kind of the philosophy. Nintendo has always been put their money where their mouth is, but they expect you to do the same. When Tetris came up, Mirrorsoft was originally the company that had the licensing for the PC version of Tetris and everything. And it come to find out that they had been using it in arcade consoles and stuff, but yet that was because at the time they got their licensing, the definition of a PC had not been strictly put into the contract, and so they had been basically illegally using their licensing further than what they should have been able to do, and they were trying to leverage the rights for handheld without ever giving them any money. And it came to find out that Mirrorsoft had not. They didn't have any money liquid. In fact, they'd even spent their company's pension plan and everything. So, yeah. So when Russia said, you have to give us a letter of intent that within a week you're going to give us $1 million, or I think it was $1 million at the time. You have to say you're going to give us that within a week. And they're like, sure, and they give the letter, but then they never come up with $1 million. And Mirrorsoft got all upset because they ended up going with not giving them the rights and then going to Nintendo, who gave them a $5 million down payment. And then, and this is the big one here, they originally had offered, and this is phenomenal, 25 cents per unit sold, but it ended up going to 50 cents per unit sold on Tetris. That has, for handheld Tetris, that has now sold 500 million copies. That means $250 million in residuals alone have come in just from Tetris and stuff. And Mirrorsoft made the mistake of not putting their money where their mouth is. Nintendo had their check in hand, ready to go. They say they're going to give you $5 million. They write a check. There you go, $5 million, and it cashes.
Well, on the topic of Nintendo and lots of money, do you want to go straight into the other Nintendo topic I've got?
Yeah, we might as well link the two topics. Which is the
Super Mario Brothers movie is making bangbusters, man. They're expecting to hit $1 billion.
It is doing so well. I saw the movie. It's amazing. I don't know if you managed to get to see it yet.
I haven't yet.
It is so good. It is so good. Even with the people that are up in arms about it, because, like, for instance, John Leguizamo is upset because there's no Latinos in the movie.
Yeah.
Or no Latin Americans, I guess I should use, because some people don't like that term, are not in the movie. But yet, Mario and Luigi aren't supposed to be Latin. They're supposed to be Italian. So really, if they were played by Latin Americans, it would still be the appropriation as back when we had Asians playing Native American Indians or what have you.
Yeah.
It's the whole point of, you don't have Koreans playing Chinese and Chinese playing Korean and stuff. It's like and this is animation. In animation, the voice actor does not need to match the ethnicity anyway. The voice acting is about voice acting, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. So I am not for cultural appropriation, as they
Anyway,
know
yeah.
on our show. But yeah, this is the main thing. It's a big thing
Yeah.
with the Mario Brothers, but the movie is
So,
doing amazing.
so the movies, as of the writing of this article, the publication of this article, the movie is at almost $700 million. And it just made another 87 million over the weekend, just in the U.S. So it's nearing 700 million already, and it just keeps kind of building and growing. But I think it's even more important. It is. Not very many movies make it to the billions, right? And even fewer still animated movies make it to the $1 billion. We're talking Toy Story and Frozen levels of success. And this movie hasn't even released in Japan yet.
Yeah, that's the thing, where it's going to be even bigger.
I'm expecting the movie to do really well in Japan.
Well, yeah, because Mario is practically a religion in Japan. Oh my God. They love the character of Mario there. And and they love American animated movies. So they combine those two, they're going to break $1 billion. They're not going to have any problem breaking into the $1 billion. That's the thing, and it's like so far up in the box office for how short it's been out. They're saying that it's killing movies like even the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which was absolutely amazing movie. They're saying one of their problems is they put it up so bracketed by John Wick and Mario Brothers. That's a hard set to compete with.
And the Super Mario Bros. Movie is another example of you can't really trust critics on things. Critics on Rotten Tomatoes give it an average of 58%, but the audience score is 96%. Not only is there a tremendous amount of people watching this movie, the people who are watching this movie are freaking loving the movie.
But that's the same thing with the D&D movie. The critics were not saying great things about the D&D movie.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have seen the D&D movie. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, the biggest reason I haven't seen the Super Mario Bros. Movie yet is because of how successful it is. Allie wants to go with me to this movie, right? She wants to go see it, but she needs to see it when it's not too busy because she's on chemo and doesn't want to be there when it's crowded. So we need to find a showing that isn't crowded. And so far, on days that we were able to have the time and the availability and her feel well enough to try to look for a showing, the theater was mostly sold out.
Try, if you have to, try going into, I know that she doesn't actually technically have one of those that would qualify, but see if you can get in the handicap row.
She's got a wheelchair. She has a wheelchair that sometimes she has to use.
So yeah, go to the handicap row because it's less crowded in that row. You get a little bit more breathing room.
Yeah. But it's not just about not bumping elbows. It's just the number of people and the odds of someone there being sick and getting her sick in this contained room with no masks on. It's just she's worried about getting sick from someone.
I understand. Totally understand.
So we got to be careful about when and where we see this movie.
You might want to wait till week 3 or week 4.
Yeah.
But it's understandable. It's understandable. It's just such a good movie.
Here's something else. Like there's a couple podcasters I listen to like the guys that kind of funny who've seen this movie and they love this movie. Tim Geddes is a big Nintendo fan. I think he said he's seen the movie 4 times now. And he made this great point recently about how between this movie and the Super Mario Land theme park that they've built I think 2 of them, one in the US and one in Japan. And the success this movie is seeing because they put so much love and care into doing this movie right, making this a Super Mario Brothers movie, that he really believes, and I have to agree with him, that there is a really good possibility of getting more really great animated super or video game movies like Legend of Zelda or Donkey Kong. Dude, I'd love to see a Legend of Zelda movie in this kind of style, this kind of a movie,
Right. And then, like, if you look at your article here, it also for its second weekend, it only dropped by 37%, making $92.5 million in its second weekend, putting it as the 7th best second weekend performance of any movie in North America of all time, for one that started with over $100 million domestic.
Yeah.
Only the MCU, Star Wars, and Jurassic World have beaten it. And that's saying something.
Yeah, that is a lot.
That's a lot.
It is too bad I'm seeing in here that the new Renfield movie that we talked about last week is underperforming.
I have not had a chance to see it. Instead of seeing Renfield, that's another thing we did this weekend. Instead of seeing Renfield, I took Allison to go see the D&D movie. And she was in love with it. She loved that movie. Oh my God. She admitted that was a D&D campaign in miniature. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. And we went and saw that because Ralphie was just not free to go see Renfield. And it was no longer opening weekend. So Allison was willing to go try to see the D&D movie. And it wasn't super crowded. We went to a little bit of later showing on Friday, and it was good. It was really, really good. Of course, this is my 4th scene of the movie. I still, if I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, I've got to see it 3 more times in theater, because I said I was going to see it at least 7 times. So I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Yeah, there's only so much time in the week,
And there's so many good movies coming out. I mean, there's a new movie out every week, and Renfield is on my list. And
we're feasting on interesting looking movies right now.
Right? I really want to see Renfield, but I haven't had a chance to go see it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next couple of days, I might be. I mean, Ralphie had ended up his wife couldn't get off work before like 8:00 at night on the weekend, and so he couldn't go because he's got Leon. But I might be looking for other options of people to go with me to the movie. I have a movie pass at the Alamo and stuff, and I have a companion ticket whenever I go. So, hey, hint, hint there, Lurch, if you decide you want to see like Renfield or something,
Yeah. I already have the pass thing at AMC.
I know.
But,
so you have it at AMC and I have it at Alamo. So between the two of us, but mine comes with a companion ticket. So I can always go with somebody else. And so who knows? Maybe all it would cost you is you be my ride. And you could go and see it. And the chairs are more comfortable at the Alamo.
Depending, not really.
Well, I sit in the handicap row, which is the most comfortable seats I've ever had in a movie theater.
Yeah, I mean, I think the chairs themselves between the Alamo and the AMC are nearly identical, except for in the IMAX. The IMAX chairs aren't as comfortable, but the other chairs are nearly identical to what the Alamo has. Minus the tables. The ones that AMC don't have the little tables.
Yeah, and if I was going to go to the IMAX, it would be for IMAX. That's the only reason. The only reason I would go to the AMC is either for IMAX or like the exclusive 2 week early showing of D&D because it was exclusive and only available there. Otherwise, I go to the Alamo. But you're the other way. You go to the AMC. Uh, that's just kind of how we roll. But yeah, Super
Yeah.
Mario Brothers movie though, if you haven't seen it, get a chance to see it. It's a huge success, and it's building to be one of the biggest success stories of movies in a while. They're putting it up there. People are comparing it to like No Way Home, in Maverick, Top Gun Maverick, you know, uh, which are post pandemic the best performing movies since the pandemic happened, and they're getting up there. So we'll see what happens. And for animation, it's quickly it's making its way into the top 10. It's not up there yet, but it's not out of the theaters yet either. And like you said, it hasn't even released in Japan yet, where I think it's
Yeah.
going to do at least as much money as it did in the US. Oh my God. Especially considering the population of Japan. Oh, so we'll see. Anything else on this topic?
I don't think so. I think we got it covered.
Alrighty.
But
Next, I'm going to go into my Kickstarter for the week. I haven't done that one in a couple weeks. This week's Kickstarter is called The World of Orcam. I don't know why it bumped down to the bottom there. Hold on.
did they say Luke Gygax?
Yes, that's why I'm doing it. Luke Gygax is Gary Gygax's son.
Yeah.
He's one of his sons. It's not Gary Jr., but he's the one that's involved. In fact, he's currently involved with a lawsuit trying to get part of trying to get Gary's will acknowledged, his latest version of his will, because there's been some fighting on that. But that's neither here nor there. This is a 5th edition adventure in the world of Ocorum, which is Luke's campaign world for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. And he's got a Kickstarter out for the adventure. For just $2, you can get a pledge, and they'll at least send you a PDF character sheet of the big bad evil guy, the BBEG, from the adventure, which is an exclusive one, custom built for the game. Or for just $12 as a backer, you can get the Fate of Shantuth digital copy, which is the adventure that he's mainly talking about here. And then there's some other backings that gives you, the digital and the print copy. And they deliver in September of this year. Plus, there's some other adventures and stuff in the area that you get. The bigger and bigger your pledge goes. And it's a 5th edition adventure, fully compatible with the 5th edition system, which means it would probably be fully compatible with both the new version, whatever 1D&D ends up being ultimately called, and Black Flag, because they're both supposed to be fully compatible.
Nice.
When that comes out, it's got it was only asking for 1,500 as a goal, very very modest goal, and they've made more than 10 times that. They're closing in on 20 times their goal. Then that's only with 348 backers, so that's pretty good considering how much they've made. That means they've had backers that have pledged a heck of a lot more than $12. And they've got 15 days to go. As is generally my habit. My habit is to only endorse the Kickstarter if I can get it to you within with at least 15 days to go, so you have time to invest. I invest in only one a year, and this one is tempting me. I have not done my investment this year yet, but it's a bunch of fleshed out adventures in Luke Gygax's world, and Luke was brought up on D&D. I mean, his father is Gary Gygax. Ernest Gary Gygax is one of the two creators of Dungeons and Dragons, him and Dave Arneson. So this is coming basically from the mouth of babes that were basically suckled at the teat of Dungeons and Dragons, as it were. Uh, and it's just amazing. I mean, you can see the old school artwork in the some of the images I'm going through. Concept art. It's very much old school. It will remind you of some of the older D&D books, especially the pamphlet era D&D books. There's stuff going to link up to Gamehole Con and things like that. Of course, Gary is. Luke is also the main organizer for Gary Con, which is the commemorative con for
That's
Gary
nice.
Gygax. Yeah, he does the commemorative con for that, and he kind of heads up the current iteration of the company for the Gygax family. He's like the main member of the family, does most of the stuff. So yeah, stuff being developed by Luke Gygax and by his stuff harkens back to the Renaissance original era of the game, and so for no other reason than that, I would want to support it. Uh, and So yeah, if you get a chance, go to Kickstarter, check out Oricum. I can never quite pronounce this name of this. Acorum is the name of the gaming world. It's Luke Gygax's World of Acorum, or it's part of Gax World, or Gaxworks, which is the new company that's basically doing a lot of the Gygax inspired old school D&D stuff. But it is full fifth edition compatible, and you don't have to support it. That's truth of all the things in my Kickstarter recommendations, but I do like to support crowdfunding in general. Just as a reminder, big and small companies produce on Kickstarter. But remember, as a backer on Kickstarter, you are generally backing a project that is in development, which means there's always a chance that the project will not come to fruition. I have to remind that to people in my MMO groups and stuff that I've backed, because people will start to yell scam if a game doesn't make it out into release. But that's the thing. When you're dealing with in production stuff, you are backing this in the hopes that they will, but knowing they may not make it out of production. You're not buying a product. You are backing a project. And so we're doing this to help small, medium, and large developers get projects out that may never see the light of day otherwise. Even big developers have projects that may never see the light of day if it isn't for backers on Kickstarter and GoFundMe type platforms. So I do urge people to invest. But that's what I've got for my Kickstarter this week. Any comments there, Lurch?
No, it looks really cool. It is curious to see what the other son of the creator of D&D is up to. I did get a little distracted because I pulled up my Kickstarter. His Kickstarter. It reminded me that I still have my Kickstarter campaign that I backed that I'm waiting to hear back on, right? Waiting for the delivery. It's supposed to be coming in sometime this month. But I went on there to see if there was any update, and when I did, I got this big old advertisement that feels very targeted about Power Rangers a 30th anniversary comic book celebration
Oh,
campaign. And I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?
on that very subject, and I didn't actually bring up a link for that for our show today, but I did want to point out for those who are looking forward to it that this week the commemorative show for Power Rangers, the one that Billy worked on from the Power Rangers, the big one releases this week. It's either tomorrow or Thursday. that it releases on Netflix. And so we finally get the continuation of the primary, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The ones that we started off with, the ones that made the franchise here. Sabom's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers gets its big 30th anniversary commemorative showing this week. So we will be talking about that for sure in the media next week because I know Lurch is going to watch it.
Yeah, I'll be watching it. It might not be till like Saturday or something, but I'll be watching it.
But you'll have it watched by Tuesday.
Yeah, for sure.
So that will definitely be because that's big news. I mean, with the death of Tommy Oliver, which is
Jason David Frank,
Tommy Oliver, as many would say, the quintessential Ranger, the one that most of us think of when we think Power Rangers. With that just recently happening, and then this coming out, 30th anniversary, the new series getting ready to drop in just a couple of months on Netflix. The work on another new live action movie that there's talk about, a new split production system where they're going to make both a kids series and a more adult series of Power Rangers that they're supposed to be working on. There's lots going on with Power Rangers, and we here at Game Time are definitely Power Ranger fans.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a lot to check out, and so expect that next week. So yeah, but that sounds like totally targeted marketing to you, Lurch. It does. Just like when I open up Kickstarter, it always opens to something like role-playing game related. When you open it having Power Rangers means they know you. They are looking over our shoulder. Big Brother is watching.
Right? They sure as hell are. Man, oh man.
The algorithms that monitor what we do on the internet are alive and well and kicking.
Yeah, I remember the time I went to a local store. I paid cash money and bought a Power Ranger toy. And then, like an hour later, I look at Facebook and I get an ad for another Power Ranger toy that matches with it, that goes with it. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah, because they detected your use of your credit card or whatever.
I used cash. I don't know. I didn't use my card.
Big Brother's watching. You were on the video and they identified you with facial recognition. It's like, wait a minute. He's bought Power Ranger stuff in 6 other stores. We've got him on tape. Find this guy's Facebook. We got to target our marketing. I'm serious, man. Big Brother is not taking over the world politically. It's taking it over with marketing.
Yeah.
Big Brother, his name is Facebook. It's Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg's not a person. He's an AI.
I mean, the way he drinks water, I have to probably agree that's probably true.
Yep. Anyway, on to our next topic, which has something to do with Redfall.
Yeah, so Redfall is a new Xbox Studios new game coming out day and date on Game Pass, right? It's a first-person shooter multiplayer game fighting vampires. I've been kind of lukewarm on it. Like, sometimes I think it looks interesting, sometimes I think it doesn't look as interesting. But you're having a game where you have people with special abilities fighting vampires. Seems like a pretty cool premise to me. But it was delayed before, and now it's finally coming out soon. But it's not going to have a 60 frames per second. It's only going to be 30 frames per second at launch, with the promise that later they should be getting 60 frames per second on an update at some point. And this has created a lot of drama within the community because first-person shooter multiplayer games are the key, like, are among the key genres that people want 60 frames per second. And it's got people a little bit pissed off at it. People who've been playing these 60 frames per second. People are throwing around language like, this is supposed to be the most powerful game system in the world, and you have a game that you are making exclusively for your own system, and you can't hit 60 frames per second. And they're looking at that side by side with a lot of these PlayStation Studios games that are dropping at 60 frames per second. A whole lot of them.
Well, that's been one of the problems that Xbox has had, is that they're just not as good about frames per second as PlayStation has been. That was one of the things that they had problems with some of their fighting games, is the frame rate, which is why they were getting so much guff at Evo because of it.
I'm not an expert on the fighting game Evo conversation so much, but this is just one more example in a growing list of frustrations that Xbox gamers are having, where another game that's just come out for Xbox called Ghostwire Tokyo. It's an Xbox published game that came out on PlayStation first because it was being developed by a team that had a contract with PlayStation before Microsoft bought the company, right? And they held up their contract and released it on PlayStation. But then a year later, released it on Xbox, and it performs worse on the Xbox despite having a whole extra year and the company being owned by Xbox. Performing worse on the Xbox Series X than it does on the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, it leads one to believe that maybe it's not just the software. I'm thinking that the Xbox hardware just doesn't have the ability to handle some of the higher frame rates.
Yeah,
because it's systemic now.
Yeah, it's been happening a lot, and it could be the way that it could be the way that Xbox is handling the development cycles or development processes or something. That it could be the hardware. It's hard to say. I know, like, one of the things, the Xbox on paper, if you just look at the specs, technically the Xbox has a slightly better performance, or has slightly better specs, right? Slightly more powerful. But even before the games came out, I think his name was Mark Cerny of PlayStation, promised that despite their spec numbers not quite being as high as the Xbox Series X, it's very custom engineered in a certain way to produce a better performance than the Xbox was going to do.
What I think is, and you would think Microsoft would be better at this because they do PCs and stuff, but I think their packet handling system is just not as good. And that's what a frame rate, part of that is involved with the network packet handling. And if the packet handling can't do it, then you get crappy frame rate.
Yeah, there's been a lot of problems with the Xbox stuff. I mean, Halo came out incomplete. Halo Infinite came out incomplete. It had a lot of problems. It needed a lot of work.
That's why they were talking about selling off Xbox and it no longer being Microsoft. Yeah, and
like almost all their games are like really way delayed. Redfall was delayed. Starfield.
Yeah.
is way delayed. It's now expected for this fall. And people are asking, is Starfield going to be 30 frames per second? You know, they really won't hit 60 frames per second either.
Now, some of the things that are okay from this Redfall is it does say that it plays a lot like your more classic zombie shooter, but instead of it being slow lumbering zombies, you're talking fast paced bloodsuckers.
Yeah.
So it's a zombie shooter style vampire hunter game,
So,
similar to Far Cry and
yeah,
Left 4 Dead.
yes. So, I really enjoyed Far Cry. I did like Left 4 Dead. I found the lumbering zombies kind of boring to play against,
And
but
this is supposed to
this
be
looks
closer
pretty
to Far
interesting.
Cry. Yeah, this is supposed
Yeah,
to be closer to Far Cry than it is to Left 4 Dead, which for people who are adrenaline junkies, which a lot of shooter game players are, they want that fast paced run for your life kind of stuff. And
yeah.
Far Cry is a Far Cry better than Left 4 Dead. It leaves Left 4 Dead in the dust. It's left it
So,
behind.
I mean, they're very different games, Far Cry and Left 4 Dead are. But
Right.
I'm going to say this is a game that I have an interest in, but I think, and it's day and date on Game Pass, but I think I'm going to wait a while. I think I'm going to wait until the 60 frames per second patch gets dropped. And it's also coming out at a rough time because we got Jedi Fallen Order that's about to drop, and
Yeah.
I'm not as big into the Zelda game, but the Zelda game is going to be huge. So we got two major single player games coming out just a few days apart from this game, and this game is a major 4-player multiplayer game that needs 4 players to get the most out of it. And I imagine there's going to be a lot of people that are willing to play, and their friends aren't willing to play because they're still busy on Zelda or
Star
Jedi,
Wars
right?
Jedi Survivor. Yeah.
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 I'll be on
Timing.
the Jedi Survivor I'll be playing that when this game comes out myself.
Yeah. And
But
timing is everything. You got to look at when you release stuff. Like we were talking about with movies releasing bracketed by major releases don't do as well. Like the Dungeons
yeah,
and Dragon movie, which is doing fairly well, but it could be doing better if it wasn't the fact that it had John Wick on one side of it and Mario on the
yeah,
other. If it didn't have those two bracketing it, I bet it would have done a lot better.
yeah. And then another factor about the problems with this game that's come up is they revealed just in the last few days that even if you have 4 players playing together, right? It's got a story and stuff. Only the host will make progress in the game. Only the host will make progress for their save file for the story. None of the other players.
Yeah, that's gonna chaff some
So,
people's hides.
so if you
Yeah,
have a 4-person group that wants to play this game through together, and you all 4 also want the credit for beating the game, you have to play the game 4 times through to get everyone the credit.
yeah,
If you're all working together.
or alternate hosts or something. I
Well,
don't
I
I
mean,
don't know if there's a way to do that.
I guess they could replay the first level 4 times and change the host each whatever. But yeah, only the host will make story progression for their game save,
Yeah,
which is
that's gonna
really rough for a 4-person
yeah
cooperative game like this.
yeah that's gonna chaff a lot of hides.
Yeah,
People are not gonna be happy about that.
that is something else. I'm hoping they fix that. I'm hoping they correct that in a patch
Yeah,
before I get around to trying to touch the game.
because it shouldn't be that hard to update everybody's save file.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that personally is a much bigger problem to me than the 30 frames per second.
yeah,
Um,
people will suffer through some minor gameplay glitches as long as their cooperative experience is good. But if you're making their cooperative experience feel more like a job than a game, yeah, they're not going to like that.
yeah,
You got to support your co-op because I mean, let's face it, even single player, quote unquote, single player games out there now are all going the co op route where, you can single player this game or you can play with 4 to 6 buddies. You know, that's the thing. People play since games like Diablo and stuff started really making the circuit. People don't want to play these games 100% by themselves anymore. Games
Yeah.
are a social endeavor. Uh,
So yeah, I'm getting really nervous about Xbox's leadership with their studios.
I've
The
all,
studios they've been buying.
they may be buying out a bunch of the studios, but I'm still solidly a PlayStation guy, and probably will be till the day I die because I won't even own an Xbox.
Yeah.
But
I
that's my
mean,
own issue. That's my own issue.
there's no hiding it. Of the big three, my favorite is the PlayStation, and the big reason why is in my opinion, they do tend to. I do think that they typically have the best quality and best, the best games and best features and things. But I still buy. I have an Xbox Series X, and I wanted to have good games that I really want to play for the Xbox. I wanted to have the good stuff.
But
I
you
wanted
have,
to do well.
but you have all the consoles. I mean, let's be
Yeah.
real. Let's be real. If Tootsie Roll came out with a console, you'd get it. With a console, you get it.
I mean, there's a few consoles I don't have. Like I didn't even get the Soulja Boy console because that's a scam of a console.
But
I never got an Ouya.
but for the most part, you
Yeah.
either have a console or you have one of those retcon consoles that plays the console. You know, you like your consoles. You're a console
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more picky. I'm more picky when it comes to mine.
I mean, I basically get all the major big consoles. Like I have a Series X, but I don't have a Series S.
Right.
Um,
You don't need both of them.
Yeah.
You might want them both, but you don't really need them both.
Well, I mean, the Series S is just a smaller, weaker Series X, which that's another thing. The Series S is notably weaker, but any game they make for the Series X has to be able to run on the Series S, right? And I don't remember which game it was. I think it was Diablo 4, but it might be something different. So I could be mistaken on this one, on which title it is. But I believe it was Diablo 4. But there is a different multi-platform, multiplayer cooperative game coming out that does not have an Xbox release date because they can't get the split screen to work on the Xbox. They can get it to work on the PlayStation 5, they can get it to work on PC, they can't get it to work on Xbox. Specifically, the report it said was they can't get it to work on Series S, and they are not allowed to publish on Series X unless it also runs on Series S.
Yeah. Speaking of consoles, in our 417 group Discord, in the yard sale, somebody is selling a Switch with a bunch of peripherals and stuff for like $300. I just wish I had $300 to spare because I've been wanting a Switch, but I've never bought one, and I've been saying that I probably won't get one before I die now. But but buying a thing that comes with it's got the Pro controller and it's got some of the other stuff with it, and I think they were asking like $300. And since you have a hard time still going into the store to buy a Switch, so buying one of the
Switches are pretty readily available.
Yeah, now I still kind of you look and they're sold out. It's still in a few places, but they're getting better.
I don't know. Anytime I happen to notice they had units, I don't go into the stores as often as I used to, but I mean, I was in a GameStop last month, and they had like 4 or 5 units of the special Pokemon edition of Nintendo Switch.
Walmart seems to be out of all but the light most of the time.
Yeah. I haven't been looking in the electronics section of Walmart much lately. I get most of my groceries, if I get them from Walmart, I get them delivered. But I have heard that it's not just Nintendo, that Walmart is barely got any games in them anymore at all. Game systems, that they're just really low on stock on all that stuff.
They are
They'll
starting
have
to
shelves
slip.
that are nearly empty.
Well, Walmart innovated the whole warehouse control system. So they stock their stuff based on how it sells. So if the sales are down, they may have reallocated their shelf space to other things.
Yeah, no, well, they
Because,
got empty shelves. Like that's the weird thing is like I've seen footage of
well,
people going into these WalMarts and they have empty shelves, and it's not just empty shelves for consoles, but empty
well,
shelves for games. Like they'll go to a section where there should be PS5 games, and then the whole thing of all the of like 20 different games to choose from. There's only like a dozen total cases across where you should expect to see a couple hundred.
yeah, but
There'll be a little empty case.
part of that is it's also Walmart inventory season, because you'll go in and like find entire sections cleared out as they're redoing inventory before they make new displays too. Because I used to do Walmart inventory control. Uh, I was one of their inventory counters as a seasonal job, and so periodically they do that. And so you'll come in and it'll look like a bunch of their shelves are bare, but they've purposely kept them bare during inventory to make it easier on some of the counting. So that could be part of it too. Not saying it's 100%. And luckily, I think more people are starting to buy from people other than Walmart, which I totally endorse. Walmart has knocked a lot of big people off of their selling, and I like to support the friendly local gaming stores more than I want to support like Walmart. And I don't even buy most of my groceries at Walmart. We go to Hy-Vee. Uh, and we don't even get Walmart delivery. We don't do Walmart hardly at all. We
If there
do.
was Walmart closer to me, or if there was a Hy-Vee closer to me, I probably would get more stuff from there. I shopped at Hy-Vee while in Minnesota a few times. It was a pretty neat store. But the Hy-Vee is the opposite side of town from me.
Well, we go to the one on Sunshine near Metagames mostly, and that's actually further. I mean, we live in the same basic part of town as you. We live right around the corner from Angel, so we're not too far away. I mean, but it's worth it to us, and they've got the best meat market in town. Really, they do.
Yeah.
Uh, and their bakery section. Not that I
Well,
should be eating baked goods, but their
yeah.
bakery section is to die for.
It is a little hard for us to go grocery shopping as much as we should because like Allie has health problems and so she can't go grocery shopping. Except for every once in a while she can go for a short burst and has to ride a little electric scooter or whatever. And then with everything else that I'm doing for work and things, it's just by the time I have and I have to do I have to do like a lot of the house things because of Allie being sick and stuff, and it's the two of us trying to live, but just with her health issues, she's not able to contribute physically as much. So most of our groceries shopping is her laying in bed while she's not feeling good and using the Walmart app to pick out all the things that we want or need from our groceries, and then have them delivered at a time that I'm going to be at home and available to bring them in the house.
Yeah, Allison does most of our shopping because of my health issues. I might go and stay in the car because if I go in, we need two rider carts because Allison, with her sciatica, has to have a rider cart most of the time too,
Yeah,
or she can't do too much. But we do about a once a week shopping, and we try to keep it down so that if we don't need to do a lot of major stuff, we just get a couple of filler items in our weekly shopping, and that's it. The
yeah,
main thing we buy every week is my soda because I go through 3 to 4 12 packs of soda a week. Uh, so we get that every week. And then we make sure that we have the meat and vegetables for our main dinners. Uh, but other than that, we don't do a whole lot. And we just find that it's worthwhile most of the time to go to Hy-Vee and Food for Less. Food for Less because they have better prices on like Boston Burger and boneless chicken. So we'll go get that at Food for Less. And their generic sodas are not too bad.
You summoned me?
No.
Hey, what's up,
Like
Squirrel?
saying my name.
Hey, Celtic
He's-
Link, welcome to the show. And we're hearing Squirrel in the background, it sounds like.
Yeah. She's. You can see her shadow on the door, but you can't see her. She's just
Hi,
off
Squirrel. We can see her now. Hi, Squirrel. Hope you're feeling better.
camera.
You summoned me by speaking the name.
Yeah, I spoke the name and it summoned her.
Did you tell her that I specifically looked up as a week or two ago the release date for part 2 of the last season of Titans for her?
I told her, or she actually ended up knowing before I could tell her
But
when the Titans was.
But I had looked it up specifically for her.
She looked up. Doc looked up when the new episodes of Titans was starting for me to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But you told me before I had a chance to tell you that he had told me.
Hi, Kitty.
I did see something today though that said that first new episode that's supposed to drop tomorrow.
Yeah, I was getting mad that Titans took too long.
Yeah, did you watch the 2 episodes that have dropped of Titans, the new episodes of Titans yet?
No, but then I'm far behind. But
okay.
Hi, Doc, thank you for thinking of me.
Always.
He says always.
We keep you in our thoughts, Squirrel. And the other thing is, what is it? They said that the next new episode or the first new episode to drop was supposed to break records for the length of the episode. So that's something too. I'm looking forward to. It's either the next episode or one of the ones that just dropped is supposed to be like the longest Titans episode they've ever aired. So I don't know. Anyway, we're actually right at the tail end of their show, which means it's a good thing that we don't have a lot of media this week. I'm just going to real quickly say my From the Vault, even though we've expressed a few things. From the Vault this week is Revenge of the Nerds, because it is dropped on Hulu. 1 and 2 are on Hulu. Classic nerd movie. Even though maybe some of the scenes might be kind of iffy. But they do like some juvenile stuff, like a panty raid and stuff. But you got some great nerd stuff going on in the show. Of course, the main character is Robert Carradine, who is what's his name from Kung Fu's son. So he has been doing quite a bit, and of course,
Wait, did you say David Carradine is in the Revenge of the Nerds?
No, Robert Carradine, the one who plays Lewis, is his son.
Okay, so David Carradine's son.
Yes,
okay,
that's David Carradine's son. And then of course,
for a second, like it didn't register right, and I was like, David Carradine is too old for that, right?
No.
Or am I thinking of like the old movie is older than I thought?
No, a lot of people don't realize that Robert Carradine, who played Lewis Skolnick in Revenge of the Nerds, is David Carradine's son from Kung Fu and Kill Bill and other movies. And this is the movie that I think really made his career, even though he went on to play a few different movie assholes later on. Curtis Armstrong, of course, played Booger, and he was probably if anything, the more popular character from the show. But he's also been in like John Cusack movies like Better Off Dead and things like that. And then the two of them came back in the 2000s and made the King of the Nerd game show for a while, which is kind of a game show spin-off of Revenge of the Nerds, where everyday nerds would compete to show that they were the ultimate nerds in a game show.
I had a friend on that show.
I could have won that show, except they generally had a nerdy physical challenge that I would not have been able to do.
The
But
physical challenges might be an issue, but yeah, my friend Rachel was a contestant on that show.
nice. I like I said at the time the show aired, I had already started some of my physical disabilities, so I could not have been on it. But in the trivia parts, I would have rocked.
Yeah.
Because I am a, you know me, I'm like an all around nerd. I'm a major nerd.
Yeah.
I love Revenge of the Nerds. It is now on Hulu, as is its sequel, Nerds in Paradise. For those who don't know, there did end up being 4 Revenge of the Nerd movies, and the only characters that were in all of the movies were Robert Carradine, Curtis Armstrong. They made every single one of the movies. Um, the kid that played Wormser in the first 2 movies, the little young kid that was supposed to be 12, was actually 12 in the first movie, and he only played in the first 2 movies, and afterwards he pretty much got out of Hollywood and went into more theater and stuff. So, where the one that played Gilbert, he was in the first and the second movie, but he only really kind of more cameoed in the second movie. Went on to be the star of the TV show ER, where he made his major thing. And then Takashi has been in a few things together. I'm trying to think of what other things he's been in, because he's been in quite a few. The Asian character Takashi, but there's been a few people from the show that have gone on to do things. Poindexter here has gone and done more stuff behind the camera as a producer now, but he has been in some other shows, but you would not necessarily recognize him. I did look at where some of them are now. And of course, everybody remembers from the first movie, John Goodman was the coach, and John Goodman's been in everything. I mean, been in the Blues Brothers, he's been in Roseanne. I mean, John Goodman is just an all around actor. It's a great movie for nerds to see, because this is from the era before nerds became what we now call nerd chic. Nerds are now the ones that rule the world, not the jocks. This is the era when the nerds took their power back from the jocks and said, screw you, we're the nerds and we are not going to be picked on. And that was the theme. And that was the theme of a lot of the 80s and 90s movies. But this was probably the preeminent nerd strike back movie to ever come out. And then Nerds in Paradise did it again. So, nerds today, if you want to look back, like with anything from the 80s and 90s, remember that some things that would pass the censors and be kind of okay at a lighthearted calm back then may not be okay now. So like there's a scene in this movie where Lewis puts on a mask that matches the jock's girlfriend's mask and goes and basically sleeps with her in the fun house under false pretenses because she thinks it's her boyfriend. So it's a kind of almost like date rape kind of scene, but it's part of that romantic comedy.
It's a raunchy. It's a teenage. It's like a college. It's like a teenage college raunchy comedy.
Yeah, it's a raunch-com, not just a rom-com, because that's what a lot of those teen movies were raunch-coms, and they were often things that were not completely acceptable, like having sex with a pie in American Pie. I mean, those are just things that you did in the movies, but you knew that nobody was condoning them being done, but it was at the same time something that a misguided teenager, especially, or college student might do, especially when they're like drunk or horny, which, well, that's the teenager and a college student. So, anyway, definitely recommend it. Watch it for the fun. Don't take it as a life lesson. Just like Blazing Saddles or anything else. Don't worry about the bad. Enjoy the good, and realize that there's a lot of great nerd media out there, and that's what the Vault is about. And we'll catch you next time. We're out of time, which is okay because our main shows did not have shows this week.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, was like, did I miss something, or we not get any new episodes this week of our main shows?
No, they were on a
So,
hiatus this week. They're on hiatus for a couple of weeks, I believe. I I think part of the reason for the Flash is because they're having such a short season. They're trying to extend it a little bit. Uh,
artificially inflate the length of the season.
well, not artificially inflate, but they're doing some other filler stuff, and they don't want them to be just filler episodes. So that's one of the things too. Uh, Also, I think they're trying to get it to timing so that the series ends right about when the Flash movie comes out. I think is part of their thinking. Uh,
Maybe.
and they're trying to keep pace with Superman and Lois and Gotham Knights, which is actually starting to improve in the ratings, but I'm not seeing it yet in the quality. So we'll see what happens.
It's
Uh, I still say the only real saving grace of the show so far is the Joker's daughter. She is the best character on that show. If it wasn't for her, I probably would have already given up on the show.
Yeah, Ali saw a few minutes of the show when I was watching the most recent episode, and she's like, "Why does that girl kind of act crazy?" And I said, "That's because it's the Joker's daughter." Oh,
Right? Right? So she has every reason to be crazy. She was brought up in Arkham Asylum. I mean, come on. Uh,
yeah.
anyway, our show's done for the week. My guild's actually waiting for me to come over and visit with them for a little bit in Wild Terra 2. Keep checking us out. Share us with your friends. Tell them to go to YouTube and watch the show. We want to get the word out more on the show. We want to cover more nerd topics and we want to get bigger. And of course, we also want to push the charity that I help represent, which is the Children's Miracle Network through Extra Life. It's gamers and streamers for the kids in the Children's Miracle Network. So any group or anything that has influence, I think, should help give back to charity. We did it with our conventions and stuff too, and so that's one of the things we do like to do here. We'll catch everybody next week with even more topics. We don't have any big previews about what's coming up next week, except for the fact that we will definitely be talking about the new Power Rangers thing for sure. That's definitely on our agenda. Um, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, check out Cocaine Bear. I believe it's on Peacock. Megan is also on, I think it's either Peacock or Paramount Plus. If you've got those are available. More and more shows are getting ready to come out. Quantum Mania is now
Yep.
available on digital, but it's not streaming yet. So you can get it if you buy it on digital, but it's not available on like Disney Plus yet.
Okay.
Same thing's true with Avatar: The Way of Water. It is available to buy for stream, but you cannot stream it yet, and they have not made their official release date yet. They're kind of extending their digital window to try to get a few more dollars per unit
Well,
before they go to stream.
it makes sense.
It
I mean,
does. It does.
it did seem really short to be 45 because it was there for a while in 2020 or whatever in the beginning. It was 45 days after it came to theaters that they would put it on Disney
Right.
Plus, and that did. I mean, it seemed really short, you know.
Right. And it makes sense, especially if they want to make it just a few more dollars, but not necessarily with all the other movies coming out in theaters. They can't afford to leave it in theaters that long. So, because there's always more movies that are vying for the spots in
Yeah,
theaters. So, by sending it to digital and getting a few more direct sales, because it's easier to track its impact on direct sales than it is on streaming sales, because streaming is kind of hit or miss about how much is the effect of it being on stream and how much people just turned it on. And but people who go out and spend actual money on the DVDs and the digital releases, uh, it's an actual trackable number to show the overall of monetization of the medium. And that's really what these companies are in business to do. As much as we want the entertainment, they got to make money if they can keep making this entertainment. So anyway, We will catch everybody next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, same two crazy idiots talking to you. May all your rolls be 20s, or if they're fumbles, may they be epic in the retelling. And like I like to say in the immortal words of Stan the Man Lee, Excelsior! Have a good day.
Excelsior. Bye.
Bye.